Dr. Jibuno runs a museum in central Lagos, and as he shows me around, the discussion leads back to his days as a student on another continent. He tells me how he drew on quotes from Martin Luther King during his time in London, and also realized the importance of having pride in one's heritage.
You are in the university, and you're reading the same science. You're reading the same biology, the same chemistry, the same physics with whites. And in some cases, you are doing better than they were doing. And then you begin to wonder, why should I be treated differently because of the color of my skin? And that's what got me worried and got me, finding ways of educating them that, look, we are all just human beings. So when he came up with this statement that I want to be judged by the content of my character and not by the color of my skin, it was like he spoke my mind at that time. And of course I used it. I used that quote so many times in dealing with my white colleagues and white college mates and white friends, and it went a long way. It's in educating, because this whole thing sometimes boils down to education. How well exposed you are, and how much traveled you are, and even if you have traveled, how much have you learned from the traveling? It's not just taking up your car and driving to Spain and to some holiday island and with your cameras and then shooting interesting places. No. If you do that without understanding the people, without understanding their culture and their ways of life, you have learned nothing.
What did you see as a young man in the British Museum that made you think that you need something like this here in Nigeria?
Before the written history, art was used to preserve our various developments. And in British Museum, you find some of the most precious artworks going back to 5,000 years that were made with unique technology. I have one of them, or some of them here, that even when Nigeria hosted the Black Arts Festival, the World Black Arts Festival, we went to British Museum to loan us some of those artifacts.
They're Nigerian artifacts?
Nigerian artifacts in London, so that we can use that to show the kind of civilization we had 5,000 years ago. They refused to give them to us.
Really?
Yes, just to loan us, to showcase the world that Nigeria had some civilization 5,000 years ago.
They said no?
They said no. We had to make replicas.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes,
That's
in
incredible.
1975. So all those led to we now saying that we must begin whatever is left of Nigerian art. We must showcase them.
Yeah.
This was a donation from the Oba of Benin. There are three major cultures in Nigeria that stores the historical artifacts: the Benin culture, Ife culture, and the Nok culture. This is one of the artifacts belonging. It was when I went to the Oba of Benin, being a custodian of the Nigerian art, to tell him that I was going to start a museum. He donated the space.
What I was thinking also when I was looking at some of these is that man needs to create art.
That's
Going
right,
back
yes.
to the first man to today, you need to create art.
And in this country, we fought religious wars, we fought tribal wars, we fought the invaders. All right. And it's hard to believe that on any of those wars, during those wars, the king, the Oba, or the Emir would send an artist to go into battle to sketch.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
To sketch the
scene.
The scene.
Wow.
And when they now come back, they make them into Nok, they make them into bronze, they make them into wood, just to use it to preserve the historical development of the time.
That's fascinating.
Dr. Jibuno, a man fueled and shaped by the many challenges he has faced.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. We don't do these things because they are easy and simple. We do them because they are hard. And it's only when you do hard things that you are led into new frontiers you cross the boundary of knowledge, break down those barriers, and begin to see new things and discover new lives and discover yourself. And until you do that, you don't ever get to that boundary. You don't ever get across those boundaries.